Hi guys, I'm Kristin Smith, and this is Emily Baker, the newest addition to our Plugged In team. She's the best. And today I'm going to be asking her some questions about The Handmaid's Tale. So today we're going to be talking about The Handmaid's Tale, which is a really big show right now on TV. And the show is set in a place called Gilead, which is the former United States that is now taken over by a totalitarian government, and there is an infertility crisis in the nation. And Emily, can you tell me why this is such a big deal?
So the whole premise of the show is that the people who are infertile employ handmaids to bear children for them.
Right.
It's a lot of oppression of women. And I think it's become really popular with fans because of the Me Too movement, and because of the women's rights issues we've been having, and it just speaks to them. That kind of symbolism, a lot of women hear it and see it and they're like, I get, that's me right now, or oh my gosh, I can see that happening in the future. So it's really freaking people out.
Yeah, it's true. There are a lot of themes in this show, and we're not going to get into all of them because that would take forever. We just said that we could write like a bajillion blogs about this and never end, or do this a million times. But the one thing we want to touch on is religion and God in the society. Can you tell me, what do they believe about God in this society?
So this whole nation was founded by this religious group called the Sons of Jacob, and their whole thing is about kind of like getting back to the basics of what humans need. So, you know, organic foods and really simple clothes, but the biggest thing is sex. There's no intimacy between man and wife. Sex is only used for breeding purposes.
Right.
So everything is very modest, very chaste, and very ceremonial, and it's all meant to somehow glorify God. They use scripture in everything that they do. So they use it in the ceremony. They use it before meals. They use it
to punish people.
Yes, they use it to punish people. It's and like I said, everything they do, they quote scripture as they do it. So this is a society that does believe in God or some form of God, and even uses scripture to justify these horrific actions that they're doing.
Right.
But at the same time, it's a very twisted, sick kind of vision of God that they have.
Right.
You know, there's a character that says, he makes a comment about the power of prayer, and his supervisor looks at him and says, not the power, but the presentation of that power, which to me says, it doesn't matter whether or not you actually believe this, it just matters that it looks like you believe it.
Right.
You know, and which really seems to be true, since a lot of characters in the show will break the rules and, you know, you get a slap on the wrist and that's it. Whereas, you know, the female characters in the show can be like beaten to death and nobody bats an eye because that's how they've manipulated scripture for their purposes.
To use it to control people. Yeah, so I think the reason we wanted to touch on this just briefly, because we were reviewing it episodically, and also we've obviously been keeping up with the show, just that it's really big in culture and it's important for us to let you know what's in shows. But a really big point here is that as Christian women, I've watched the show multiple times, and every time, I think having a child might make it a little bit different, but every time I watch it, I get this sick feeling in my stomach, and every single episode ends, and I feel hopeless, and I kind of have this, like, I don't know, I just don't feel good. Like, there's this despair that settles over me. Absolutely, and I don't know, for me, I look at it, and I look at this world that they've created, and one thing that I've noticed is that this is a world that doesn't have Christ. Like, they mention Christ is used in their scriptures and stuff, but Christ's sacrifice means nothing in this world, which is half the reason they're doing all these things, because they're trying to redeem themselves so that God will find them worthy of children. Like, they think they're being punished by God with the infertility. And so when I watch it, it's like you said, it's very hopeless. It makes you feel full of despair. Yeah. But not for me, because when I look at it, I'm like, well, yeah, but I have Jesus. I don't have to go through all these crazy ritualistic things because Christ wrote a new covenant with his sacrifice. So
I think that as Christian women, we should not buy into the fear that this is creating.
Yeah.
Because we know that our God is not going to punish us with infertility, because that's not how God is. I think that as a Christian, if you're a Christian woman and you're watching the show and you feel that despair and that hopelessness and that fear, you don't have to. You can relax because you are free through Christ.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good. We just want to bring just, I guess, a little bit of light and discernment into this. And that's kind of what we've been talking about, and what we've been talking about at Plugged In is this element of discernment. How do we use it when we watch different shows? If it makes us feel a certain way, what do we do about that? And how does it relate to us in everyday life? So if you guys have any comments or questions about this show, just a quick little sneak peek, because obviously the show is really heavy. There are a lot of elements to this. So if you have anything you want to say, just drop a comment below. We'd love to hear.
And read our review on Plugged In if you want more information.